What's up, fam? Welcome back to Revolutionary Hour, the podcast that doesn't sugarcoat reality because let's face it, the world is already falling apart and you don't need a spoonful of sugar, just a heads up before the next catastrophe. I'm your host, Mr. E, and today we're diving into yet another impending disaster, the standoff between the Maritime Alliance and the International Longshoremen's Association, ILA. Because you know, what's another potential economic collapse in the good old US of A? We've got ports about to shut down, businesses bracing for impact, and consumers who are already wondering why eggs cost as much as gold. Oh, and in case you missed it, we'll also be tying this delightful little debacle into the ongoing collapse of the US dollar. So buckle up, comrades. We're about to take a grim yet informative ride through labor strikes, supply chain nightmares, and the ticking clock of the American economy. Alright, so who are the stars of this tragic drama? On one side, we have the Maritime Alliance. Think of them as the corporate overlords who control all things shipping, logistics, and port operations. They're the guys making sure your overpriced Amazon order arrives on time-ish. Now, on the other side, we've got the International Longshoremen's Association, the ILA, aka the folks who are actually doing the heavy lifting, loading, and unloading ships at US ports. Now the ILA is demanding better wages because, shocker, people don't like working dangerous jobs for chump change, while the CEOs sip lattes in their corner offices. Oh, and they're also fighting to stop robots from taking over their jobs, because nothing says progress like automating entire livelihoods, right? So what's all the fuss about? Well, it's your classic corporate greed versus worker survival battle. The Maritime Alliance wants to push for more automation. You gotta love that efficiency. Which of course means fewer jobs for the humans. Meanwhile, the ILA just wants to keep their people employed, fed, and safe. They're also asking for a wage increase because apparently we live in a world where the inflation is real but wage growth is a myth. Now, if these negotiations go sideways, and let's be honest, with the track record we have in this country, they probably will. We're looking at a full-on port strike. And not just any port, everybody. We're talking the big guns. New York, Savannah, Miami, Houston, and more. If you thought shipping delays during the pandemic were bad, just wait till you can't get your basic goods like toilet paper, coffee, or I don't know, anything that makes your life remotely bearable. We're also looking at another baby boom because fellas, where you gonna get your condoms from? The million-dollar question, or should I say the US dollar collapse question, is when is all this going down? The strike could hit any day now. Both sides are digging in their heels like toddlers in a sandbox. And if no one steps in to mediate, the ports will shut down. And when the ports go dark, the whole supply chain starts unraveling. Remember that old game of Jenga? Yeah, this is like pulling out the wrong block, but instead of a tiny wooden tower, it's our entire economy crashing to the floor. Now let's break this down real quick. Who is going to get hit hardest by this strike? Short answer, everyone. Small business owners, oh, they screwed. If you rely on imports for your products, you might as well kiss your next shipment goodbye. Delays, price hikes, and frustrated customers will become your new reality. But hey, maybe this will be your sign from the universe to start that Revolutionary Hour themed Etsy shop you've been dreaming of. Too bad your materials are probably stuck on a ship in the Atlantic. Consumers, get ready for higher prices on everything from food to electronics. Inflations are already running wild, and the port strike will only pour gasoline on that dumpster fire. And for those of you holding on to the hope that this will blow over quickly, don't hold your breath. You might need that oxygen when prices triple at the grocery store. Alright, so now that we're all sufficiently depressed, let's talk about our favorite topic, politics. What's the Biden-Harris administration doing about this ticking time bomb? So far, not much, but hey, it's not like they don't have enough on their plate with the crumbling US dollar and an election coming up. If they let this strike go nuclear though, it could be a nightmare for them. Imagine going into 2024 with an economy still recovering from the pandemic, inflation spiraling, and then add a port shutdown into the mix. The Republicans will have a field day screaming about how this administration can't handle basic labor disputes. And if Biden don't step in to mediate this thing and it blows up, labor unions might turn their backs on Harris, seeing how she's the current vice president. Now, this ain't exactly the kind of drama you want in an election year, huh? So how is this all going to end? Well, we've got two options here. Best case scenario, both sides miraculously put down their pitchforks and agree to a deal. The workers get a raise, automation happens slowly enough that people can adjust, and the ports stay open. We all go back to overpaying for stuff, but at least we can get it on time, right? Worst case scenario, the strike goes on for weeks, maybe months. The ports shut down, the economy tanks even further, and we start hearing more whispers about the US dollar's collapse as the global standard. Oh, and don't forget the layoffs that will hit industries that rely on airports. It's a revolution of inconvenience. People and no one is spared. Now let me leave you with a little hope, because hey, this is the revolutionary hour, and even in the darkest times, we gotta keep pushing forward. Maybe, just maybe this labor standoff will serve as a wake-up call. Maybe it'll show us that we can't keep relying on the old systems that exploit workers and widen the gap between rich and poor. Maybe this strike would light a fire under all of us to demand something better. Fair wages, secure jobs, and an economy that doesn't leave us all behind. But then again, maybe we're just all waiting for the next crisis to hit. Because if there's one thing America does well, it's jumping from one disaster to another, like a hooker to a car. Alright family, that's it for today's Revolutionary Hour. If you want to stay in the loop on the latest collapses, whether it's the economy, the US dollar, or the next labor strike, make sure to follow us, subscribe to the podcast, and spread the word. We might be headed for chaos, but at least we'll be informed and dying of laughter. And isn't that the first step to revolution? Until next time, peace, power, and prepare for the next catastrophe.